The chamber lights shimmered like ice over velvet, refracting from a ceiling too high to exist in any natural world. One by one, alien dignitaries flickered into place at the obsidian table, plasma-bound entities, crustacean warlords, sentient clouds with veils of starlight. At the head of council, Ambassador Quillick of the Arxan Empire leaned back in his pod throne, 8 fingers steepled, smug as a bureaucrat with a scalpel. "Let it be recorded," Quillick purred, his voice oily and sonorous, "that this meeting of the High Council of Galactic Integration convenes under Article 441, Resource Reallocation." There was no protest, not even from the Vatrian Hive, who usually buzzed like a broken wire when protocol breached ethics. The motion had already passed. The documents were filed. The signatures were burned into the tablets. It was, by every definition, legal. 99 million women, human, fertile, resilient, taken. Not enslaved, not killed, just reassigned. That was the word etched into the Galactic report. Reassigned. As though lives were bricks and Earth was a crumbling structure in need of remodeling. Quillick smiled. "They should thank us," he said aloud, drawing a ripple of chuckles from the council. "We've ensured their lineage survives through contribution." The laughter echoed cold. One Arctoon delegate blinked uncertainly. "Should we expect retaliation?" Quillick waved a tentacle. "Retaliation? From the Terrans? Their entire fleet runs on combustion. They burn liquids to fly. But their records. They still argue about weather," Quillick cut in. "Please. You're giving a race that worships groundhogs too much credit." Even the Vatrian Hive twitched in mild amusement. A lesser-known diplomat, a rust-colored species from a gas planet, spoke cautiously. "Still, 99 million is a considerable number, which we're compensating for. We've sent them a fruit basket." Silence. Then another laugh, nervous this time. The files were sealed. The transports were en route. The Terran territories had gone eerily quiet since the extraction. No declarations of war. No threats. No counter-invasion. Just silence. It unnerved those who paid attention. On the outer rim of the galaxy, near a derelict Terran diplomatic relay, a signal blinked to life for the first time in decades. It was small. Civilian. No security escort. No fleet. Just a shuttle drifting toward Council space, carrying one cargo crate and one man. He disembarked with no weapon, no armor, just a tailored black suit, polished shoes, and a steel blue tie that caught starlight like a blade. He carried a dog crate, inside of which a golden retriever stared placidly at the world. "Johnny Ricky," the man said to the first port officer who asked. "Here, on behalf of the women." The officer blinked. "Which women?" He smiled. "All of them." Johnny was polite, unassuming. He moved like someone who didn't need to move quickly. His voice was soft, pleasant, like hot cocoa with a cracked knuckle. He thanked security guards, complimented their uniforms, handed out biscuits. Somewhere behind him, the dog sneezed. When he stepped onto the bridge of the outer council station, Ambassador Quillick wasn't even there to greet him. A minor diplomat named Soares approached instead, puzzled. "I don't understand," Soares said. "Why send a civilian?" Johnny tilted his head. "Oh, I'm not here for diplomacy." "Then what are you?" The station lights flickered. Just once. The kind of flicker that doesn't come from mechanical failure, but from something choosing to pass through unseen. Soares stepped back. "Apologies," Johnny said, pulling a paper-wrapped sandwich from his coat. "Didn't want to come hungry. Long trip." Soares looked down at the crate. "That your pet?" "No," Johnny said. "She's my therapist." Quillick finally arrived, trailed by high-security enforcers and 2 gelatinous guards bristling with antimatter rifles. His tentacles curled with disdain. "You again," he muttered. "Have we met?" "In principle," Quillick said, circling the humans slowly. "Your people are difficult to track. You don't follow protocol. No central leader. No clear religion. Not even consistent definitions of decency. You're chaotic." Johnny took a bite of his sandwich. "True. And what exactly are you here to request?" Johnny swallowed, then smiled. "Return the women." There was no anger in his voice, no heat, just a kindly tone, like asking a neighbor for a borrowed rake. Quillick smirked. And if we don't? Johnny glanced at his dog. Then it gets difficult. You're threatening us? Oh no, Johnny said. I'm explaining. A pause. We've done you a favor, Quillick snapped. You know how many of those women were unwanted, impoverished, burdened by your planet's declining infrastructure? We've given them better purpose. Johnny leaned forward slightly. That, he said, was your second mistake. And the first. Johnny set the sandwich down. You thought we were still talking. He stepped aside. Somewhere a siren blared, not from attack, but from nothing. Systems began shutting down one by one. Gravity flickered. The temperature dropped by 5 degrees. And on every monitor across the council bridge, a name appeared. Norris. Quillick's voice turned shrill. Is this an AI incursion? What are you doing? Johnny shrugged. I brought my coworker. Just then, the glass of space shimmered. Not shattered. Shimmered. A man stepped out from the void. Not flew. Not teleported. Stepped. Boots silent. Beard unmoving. Eyes unreadable. Agent Norris. He didn't speak. He didn't wave. He simply nodded toward Johnny. Then turned to Quillick and cracked his knuckles. Guards aimed weapons. Time paused. Johnny sat cross-legged and unwrapped another sandwich. You know, on Earth, we have this phrase. Quillick, trembling now, tried to speak. What phrase? Johnny's eyes crinkled with something between humor and prophecy. You done messed up. Explosions didn't come from missiles. They came from logic. From the way air moved around Agent Norris. One of the gelatinous guards dissolved without sound. Another crumpled in on itself like an apology. The dog barked once. A nearby station door swung open. Through it poured footage. Not propaganda. Footage. Of Johnny in 50 locations at once. Of Norris walking through walls. Of entire moon prisons emptied. Of women walking out holding the hands of men who bled to get them back. Quillick stumbled backward. You've declared war. No, Johnny said, rising slowly. You did. We just decided to reply. Across the galaxy, alien commanders began seeing anomalies on their screens. Human vessels, previously believed to be scrapyard fodder, moved with precision, vanishing from radar only to appear inside enemy hangars. And one by one, the women began returning home. Not with vengeance. With witnesses. A Vatrian delegate collapsed. We should have never touched Earth. Johnny patted his shoulder as he walked past. You didn't touch Earth. You touched the part of us we keep quiet. The lights dimmed again. The council, once brimming with contempt, sat frozen, watching Johnny Ricky walk away, dog at heel, footsteps echoing louder than explosions ever could. The shuttle doors closed behind him. Silence reigned for one long, aching moment. Then, a terrified voice crackled over intercom. They didn't even bring weapons. And another in a whisper. That was the weapon. The prison moon was built like a cathedral with no god, gleaming spires, rotating rings, solar crucifixes orbiting a frozen planetoid meant to humble whoever entered. 99 million women, held in sectors numbered, color-coded, and buried so deep that light had to be manufactured. They were not tortured. They were processed. Clean, clinical, and dehumanizing. The Galactic Empire prided itself on efficiency. Commander Threll Vac walked the central spine of the station, his boots clicking like a metronome for madness. Any sign of breach? No, sir, his lieutenant answered. Just a Terran craft. Civilian grade. Docked without resistance. No crew manifest. One life form. Vac stopped. His voice sliced like a scalpel. You allowed that? The lieutenant blinked. It transmitted an Imperial passcode. Level Crimson. That halted everyone. Crimson was reserved for emergency diplomatic couriers. Galactic Council level clearances. Vac's jaw tightened. Send the Zarlok. Quietly. The Zarlok, a six-eyed biped bred in acid and programmed to interrogate pain itself, skittered toward the cell blocks. It never came back. What returned, instead, was a golden retriever. Clean. Tail wagging. A small note tied to its collar. Your dog is dead. This one is better. J.R. The silence in the command deck pressed in like a vice. Vac stared at the animal. It stared back. Across the galaxy, Johnny Ricky had already walked through 15 doors, none of which had been opened. Surveillance footage showed him stopping for tea in the officers' mess, adjusting the paintings in the hall, and, most baffling of all, writing notes. He left them everywhere. On monitors, on guard helmets, on a broken vending unit. One said, "You have beautiful floors. Shame what's under them." Another, "Your wiring is insecure. I fixed it. You're welcome." In the surveillance hub, 5 technicians were watching him on split screens. None spoke. One began to weep. Meanwhile, far beneath the station's main deck, in the holding chambers lined with sterile light and numbered sorrow, Agent Norris entered without sound. No alarms. No breach. Just presence. He didn't need a map. He could smell fear. The women inside sensed him first. Not as a threat, but as a shift in the gravitational field. A quiet pressure of something ancient and resolute. One girl reached through the bars, tears not of pain, but of recognition. She didn't know who he was, but her bones did. "Are you here to free us?" she whispered. Norris blinked once, then nodded. She smiled, a crooked, trembling thing. Above them, Vac finally cracked. "Bring the plasma cannons online. Seal the holding decks. Kill anything not registered." The order was relayed. It was followed. And still, nothing changed. Except the lights. They flickered once. Then went red. Not emergency red. Not danger red. Terran red. The color of human blood in sunlight. On every console, a single file appeared. Not malware. Not video. Just a document. The list. It showed every name. Every ID. Every woman abducted. Every chamber. Every experiment. Every location. And, at the bottom, "We found them all." Vac stared at the blinking file. How did they get this? Behind him, someone whispered, "It's not a hack. It's a message." Johnny Ricky finally entered the bridge. No weapon. Just a notebook in one hand and a warm thermos in the other. Vac spun, face twisted in disbelief. He hissed. "You're a damn secretary." Johnny smiled politely. "Executive problem solver. Slight difference. You're alone." "No, I'm supervised," Johnny said, gesturing to the dog now curled by the command chair. "We have a union." Vac raised his pulse rifle. Johnny didn't flinch. "Commander, do you know what you've done?" "I'm defending this facility." "No," Johnny said softly. "You triggered it." Vac fired. The beam struck empty air. Johnny was already behind him. One hand on his shoulder. One hand holding a pen. A real one. Ink. Blue. "You brought a gun," Johnny whispered, to a story written in blood. The pen slid gently between vertebrae. Vac's body hit the floor like a rumor ending too soon. The rest of the bridge crew froze. Johnny exhaled and turned toward the main terminal. He typed. Just a few keystrokes. Doors opened across the station. Thousands of doors. Millions. In the cells, restraints clicked open. Floor panels slid away. Stairwells and corridors realigned. What once was a prison became an escape route with teeth. Agent Norris moved like water down a mountain. He didn't punch. He corrected. He didn't kill. He concluded. He lifted a warden by the jaw and asked one question. Why? The warden sobbed, "Orders." Norris nodded, as if confirming a diagnosis, then dropped him into an active trash chute labeled non-organic waste. The women began walking out in silence, some barefoot, some weeping, others singing songs from Earth. One carried a doll made from old socks. They passed Johnny at the bridge. He didn't look up from the console. He was writing names. They nodded to him, each one, like passengers thanking a conductor. Back in the council's war chamber, an emergency call came through. The Emperor watched the footage. Are they using a virus? Drones? Bioweapons? No, sire, the technician said. Then what are we watching? The technician hesitated. 2 humans. One man is walking. The other is writing things down. Writing. Yes, sire. Show me. The feat turned to Johnny Ricky, sipping tea on the now evacuated bridge. He looked up into the camera. As if he knew they were watching, he lifted a hand and gave a thumbs up. Then he smiled, kindly, deeply, like an uncle with a secret. And the screen went dark. Back on the prison moon, one woman stopped to ask Johnny, "Are you going to kill them?" Johnny shook his head. "Killing's easy. We're going to make them remember." "How?" He handed her a slip of paper. On it, testimony schedule. Galactic Tribunal. Tuesday. The camera pulled back. Stars beyond the prison moon lit up, not from suns, but from Terran vessels that had arrived without sound, without warning, and without fear. Each one bore no weapon, just a writing desk and a seat, ready for witness after witness. The Empire had taken 99 million women. Humanity didn't send an army. It sent the note-takers, the truth-bringers, the kind-eyed wolves. And now the whole galaxy would be forced to listen. Aboard the command ship, a young alien soldier leaned toward his officer. "Sir, what are they going to do?" The officer swallowed, his face pale. "They're going to document us." The lights in the room dimmed. A single note appeared on the bridge's main screen. Johnny Ricky and Agent Norris were just the beginning. The command chamber of the Imperial Apex ship Vigilance Prime smelled of polished steel, static ozone, and panic sweat hiding beneath pressed uniforms. The walls, tall as cathedrals and colder than logic, flickered with holofeeds from 1,000 sectors, each one worse than the last. The Emperor stood motionless. His robe, woven from quantum silk and protocol, didn't so much as rustle. "Report," he said quietly. The junior comms officer didn't look up. His voice cracked. "Sir, they're all gone." The silence that followed had shape. It had teeth. "Clarify," the Emperor said. "The women, sir. The Earth females, every single one. From every holding facility across the quadrant. Destroyed." "No, sir. Extracted." "By what fleet?" The officer glanced up. His lips were pale. "No fleet, sir. Just them. The two." Across the command table, Grand Strategist Drell, whose mind once simulated war against 3 galaxies in one, finally lowered his datapad. "We assumed surgical extractions," he muttered. "But this wasn't an operation. It was symbolic. They didn't just remove assets. They erased our claim. And our leverage," added High Marshal Tech, eyes twitching. "Without hostages." "We never had hostages," Drell said bitterly. "We had a timer." Another holofeed flared to life. A sector commander, visibly trembling, spoke directly into the lens. "They left us alive, sir. They let us watch. Some of them smiled. Some didn't say anything. Just looked at us like we were embarrassing ourselves." The feed blinked off. The Emperor turned to his aide. "Have we received an official declaration of war?" "No, Your Radiance." "Then why are our systems folding in on themselves like wet paper?" The aide hesitated. "Because we're not at war with their government, sir. We're at war with something older." At that moment, in the corner of the chamber, a new signal lit the console. It wasn't encrypted. It didn't need to be. A loafers-wearing diplomat from Earth requested audience. The Emperor's nostrils flared. "Bring him in." Seconds later, he walked in. Not strode, not marched, walked, like he was browsing a farmer's market. The diplomat wore no insignia, just beige slacks, a blazer, and a steaming cup of something that smelled like cinnamon and confidence. "Hi," he said, nodding to the entire room. "Do you validate parking?" Silence. Drell blinked first. "You're a representative of Earth?" "Ish," the man said. "Technically, I'm from Ohio, but we all work together these days." The Emperor narrowed his gaze. "Who are you?" "Name's Greg." "Greg." "Just Greg. You came alone?" "I did. No ship. No weapons. No armor." "Nope." The Emperor circled him slowly. "Are you armed?" Greg took a sip of his drink. "Not traditionally." Tech stepped forward. "This is an insult. After what your kind has done." "Oh, we haven't done anything," Greg interrupted cheerfully. You're still breathing. That's how you know we're negotiating. Drell's voice sharpened. You broke into council space. You dismantled our operations. You violated half the treaties on record. Greg set his mug down carefully on a glass ledge. And you kidnapped 99 million women. The word kidnapped hung in the air like a blade with nowhere left to fall. The Emperor spoke, finally. We anticipated resistance, calculated rebellions. We did not expect this. This, Greg said, pointing upward, is not war. This is theater. You're mocking us. No. You mocked us. You thought you were stealing bodies. You didn't know you were tampering with culture, with pain, with ancestry. He pulled a napkin from his pocket, unfolded it. The names of the prison staff were written in pen. Their assignments, their home planets. This isn't espionage, Greg said. It's accountability. Tech reached for his blade. Greg didn't blink. Before you draw, I should warn you, Agent Norris doesn't like interruptions. A low beep echoed through the command deck. One by one, the lights above every military vessel on the holomap turned from green to gray. Inactive. Powerless. Dead. I don't understand, Drell whispered. We ran diagnostics. No infiltration. No breaches. Greg shrugged. Did you check under the coffee machine in Sector Theta? The feed zoomed in. There, nestled behind a power coil and an empty snack wrapper, sat a single handwritten note. You should have picked T. Jr. The room tilted in unspoken horror. You still think this is war, Greg said gently, because war makes sense to you. But this is a human response. And humans don't respond in straight lines. The Emperor clenched his fists. What do you want? Greg smiled like someone about to put down a bad hand just to see your reaction. We want you to feel it. What it means when your rules no longer apply. When polite smiles mean something very sharp is coming. A soft chime. Another feed opened. It showed Johnny Ricky sitting on a bench outside the Imperial Research Facility, eating a slice of pizza and feeding crust to a dog. Inside the facility, sirens blared. Systems collapsed. Next feed, Agent Norris, seated in what appeared to be a kindergarten classroom full of freed children, repairing a broken rocking horse. These two men, Drell whispered. They're your first line? Greg raised an eyebrow. Oh no, they're not first. They're not even Central Command. They're just two men who are tired of writing strongly worded letters. And your fleet. Still at home. Your armies. Watching this with popcorn. The Emperor stepped forward. You came here to humiliate us. No, Greg said. We came to finish you. A new signal pierced the room. From deep space. Thousands of unregistered crafts, lighting up the periphery of the galactic border. No heat signature. No propulsion. No identifiers. Only one message, bouncing from ship to ship, like a heartbeat made of old code. Protocol Lazarus. Confirmed. Drell dropped his datapad. That's not real. It was shelved. Buried. Greg nodded solemnly. Most good stories are. Tech's voice broke. What is Protocol Lazarus? Greg finished his drink and set the mug aside. You kidnapped our daughters. Our sisters. Our mothers. Our lovers. Our artists. Our scientists. You thought you were removing variables. You didn't know you were triggering the constants. He looked at them now like a father would look at men who stole from his children. Protocol Lazarus is not an attack. It's a memory, a very old one, from a time when Earth learned what happens when you let cruelty flourish too long. The lights dimmed again, and in that hush, something ancient stirred beneath the Empire's core servers. One final note blinked on screen. Just 6 words, scrawled in human penmanship. Not from Greg. Not from Johnny. Not from Norris. She remembered her name. They came. Under the cracked glow of a collapsing star, the Imperial Citadel spun slowly above a planet that no longer had a name. It had been erased from maps after the abductions began, made into a memory hole, a place where decisions were made by machines with mouths, and orders were signed in bloodless ink. Now, the once proud fortress flickered like a dying thought. Inside its high-security war room, Supreme Admiral Vor stood behind bulletproof silence. His hands, gloved in ceremonial alloy, trembled just slightly as the final report played across the projection table. "All women accounted for," said the AI voice. "0 remain under Imperial custody." The words should have sounded like data. Instead, they sounded like a eulogy. "Play it again," he ordered. The feed looped. Johnny Ricky, surrounded by ash and sunlight, smiled at a little girl who clutched his coat. He held her hand, lifted her into the escape vessel, and turned to wave, not at the camera, but at the satellite watching him. Then he walked into the smoke and vanished. The final image, a pen stabbed into a dead console, a signature written beneath it. Closure. The AI beeped. "Would you like to issue a counter-strike protocol?" "No," Vor whispered. "We've already lost. We just haven't fallen over yet." He looked up. "Begin evacuation protocols." Just then, the lights pulsed, not flickered. Pulsed, like something alive had touched the power grid. The holomap updated. Vor's breath caught. A fleet had appeared. No warp trail. No entry logs. Just appeared. Thousands of ships. No insignia. No formations. No communications. Just a single signal. Lazarus Protocol, Phase 2. In the bowels of the Empire's citadel, centuries-old doors cracked open. Not by code, by memory. The kind of memory buried in DNA. And from them stepped the rest of Earth's response team. Not soldiers. Not politicians. Not even military strategists. Instead, a grandmother in a sun hat, rolling up her sleeves. A ballet instructor with shrapnel scars and piano wire garrote shoes. A school librarian with 3 doctorate degrees and a vendetta. A tattooed paramedic who once revived a sniper by chewing glass and spitting it into a fuse box. None of them spoke. They didn't have to. Their files, some marked obsolete, others deceased, flashed on Imperial terminals. Every single human listed as non-combatant. Every single one now aboard Earth's response fleet. Vor turned to his communications officer. "Get me the Human Council. Tell them." But the signal was already open. Greg was on the line, sipping coffee, wearing a t-shirt that read "Polite Threat Level, Rising." "No need to call," Greg said cheerfully. "We're already here." Vor barked. "Is this your final ultimatum?" Greg chuckled. "Ultimatum? Oh no. This is your graduation." Vor's hand hovered over the auto-defense terminal. "If I push this, every cannon fires. You know that." "I do. You'll lose people." "Probably." Greg leaned forward. "But so will you. And unlike us, you've never learned how to bury shame and grow something sharper." The holoscreens dimmed. A new feed burst into view. A private council chamber. The Hive, the AI entity that governed half the Galactic Empire, sat in its throne of light. It blinked once. "Humanity," it buzzed, "has surpassed threat level 7. Initiating sterilization protocol." And then it glitched. Just for a second. A human virus, handwritten in Morse code, injected through a dog's collar found during a supposed prisoner release, crawled into the Hive's logic core. The lights dimmed, and the Hive said, very quietly, "Error, I feel fear." Somewhere in the shipyard, Agent Norris stepped through a bulkhead. No entry code. No clearance. Just arrived. He carried no weapon. He was the weapon. 3 guards raised rifles. He looked at them. They lowered the rifles. He walked past. On Deck 9, a dozen imprisoned engineers who had refused to work for the Empire watched as their cell locks clicked open one by one. No alarms. Just soft music. A string quartet. A composition banned by the Empire centuries ago for being emotionally destabilizing. They followed the sound. At the center of the facility, Johnny Ricky stood at the heart of the central core, cross-legged, eyes closed, listening to a vinyl record turning on an ancient phonograph. "You really brought a record player," one engineer whispered. Johnny opened his eyes. Some wars need rhythm. The final key was inserted. The core split open like a wound and released every location the Empire had hidden. Slave camps, research labs, baby farms, and the galaxy saw them all. unedited, unvarnished. Truth in raw human resolution. Across the stars, rebellions erupted, not because they were planned, but because people finally saw what they were part of. Nations fell, species defected, and humans didn't gloat. They watched. Back in the Imperial War Chamber, Greg stood in person now. He had walked into the room somewhere between one sentence and the next. Mug still warm. "I have one more gift," he said. "From Earth." Vor didn't speak. Greg pulled a box from his coat, set it on the table, opened it. Inside, a baby shoe. Small, scorched, with a name written in marker on the sole. Greg's voice softened. "We keep our grief in boxes. We label it. We store it. And one day, when someone takes enough from us, we deliver it back." He slid the box across the table. Vor backed away. The room cracked at its seams. A countdown began. Not from Earth. Not from a fleet. From inside the Empire's own computer systems. Human-made code. Triggered not by attack, but by confession. When the Hive admitted fear, it allowed access to something ancient. Something only humans ever wrote down. When tyranny reaches memory, memory responds. Greg nodded once. "This is your legacy." And then he walked away. Johnny Ricky and Agent Norris exited the facility together. Not with fireworks. Not with triumph. Just quiet. Behind them, the Empire crumbled, not from explosions, but from inconvenient truths that could no longer be deleted. One by one, screens across the galaxy blinked to static, until only one image remained. A girl, blonde, 6 years old, holding her mother's hand. A mother once taken by the Empire. A mother now home. The girl looked into the lens and said, "You can't take us again. We're all awake now." Then she smiled. Like Johnny. Like Greg. Like someone who'd inherited not just survival, but the ability to turn history into a blade. And the screen went black.